What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So it's raining out today. It's kind of a crappy day, so we figured it'd be a good idea to put the GTO back in the garage. We swapped the cars around last night, put the Hellcat out in the carport, brought the GTO in so that we can start working on the charge pipe. So when we first put this car together over the summer here, we kind of just slapped a few things together. Like you'll notice my ABS module is just kind of chilling here. I've still got to do some wiring so that we can fully remove that. There's a couple other little things, some wiring things, but mainly the charge pipe. In my opinion, it just looks kind of hacked together and crappy. Not super happy with how that came out. It definitely worked. It was definitely holding boost. We did blow a pipe off at first. If you guys want to see that, you can go back and check out the tuning videos we did with the GTO. But when we first got on it, we blew a boot, and then we blew a second one in one of the videos when we were tuning this thing. So I knew that the charge piping was going to be temporary because I wanted to make it look a lot better. And as I practice welding and get better at TIG, I can now go ahead and start trying to remake some of it. Now, it's not going to be gorgeous. It's not going to be the perfect, like beautiful welds or anything like that. But I'm going to do the best that I can with it and see how it comes out. We've also got a better blow-off valve for this thing that we're going to put on. Right now we're running the little ProCharger bypass valve. I think that comes in like the P1SC and D1SC kits. But since we're running the D1SC pretty much maxed out, actually beyond maxed out, we're spinning it harder than ProCharger recommends. So I want to get a better blow-off valve on there and try to help that thing out a little bit. So let's take a look at some of the piping that we're going to be using. I went ahead and picked up some Vibrant stuff and the 90, and then I've got a few pieces mixed in here from Ace Race Parts, like this guy here. This is a blow-off valve flange. Not sure if I'm going to use this one. I have the nice one that came with the Black Sheep Industries blow-off valve. This one's a lot thicker and just seems to be an all-around nicer piece, but I wanted to get at least one spare so that I can practice, because like I said, I am still learning TIG welding, especially on aluminum. I picked up this Prime Weld welder a few months back, which if you guys want to see a review on that, I also did a video on that as well. You can go back on the channel. It's been a great welder, but we're going to put it to the test today. So if you guys aren't already subscribed, please hit that button and ring that bell. That way you get notified anytime we put out a video with the GTO, the Duramax, or the Hellcat. Let's jump right into today's video. So we had to cut that big 3.5 inch 90 that we've got here. We had to cut that down a little bit to get it to slide down far enough in the lower boot here to get the right height so that we can go into our throttle body. I think I've still got to trim it down a little bit more. We're going to have to trim it a little bit more down here, and then I'll probably have to take a little bit off here. Perfect. Sorry about the noise, guys. We got the heater going. It started getting a little cold out. But right now we've got the pipe fit. It's lined up pretty decent. I'm pretty happy with it. I might make a couple little tweaks, but all in all I think it sits pretty nice. Looks a lot better than what was on there. But now we need to figure out where we want to put this badass Black Sheep Industries blow-off valve. You can see the little ProCharger one that we had on it. It just came with our ProCharger when I bought it. The guy gave it to me. We're going up to this thing. Going to be a lot more flow that this thing's going to be able to get rid of when need be. So in a perfect world, if we didn't have a hood and all that, we could put it like right up here or something, right after the bend or something along those lines. But I'm trying to fit it under the hood and have it look decent still. I'm almost wondering about maybe putting it something like that, or we could put it back over here where this one was. But we're gonna play around with it a little bit, see what we can figure out, and make a decision, and then start welding this thing. All right, guys, so we decided that we're gonna put the blow-up valve right over in here like the other one was. And now that we're working on it, we have the blow-up, or the flange that came with the Black Sheep Industries blow-off valve is actually meant for a 3-inch pipe. We're using 3.5, so we're gonna go ahead and try doing this trick. I put some sandpaper onto a piece of 3.5-inch pipe, and we're just gonna go back and forth with it until we can get it to a point where there's no gaps and it's weldable. I was gonna use a reamer, but I did that on a spare one of these I had, cheaper, like it wasn't as thick, but I just couldn't get it perfect. So I'm gonna try doing it this way. If it's taking a long time, I might knock down a bunch of material with this and then fine tune it with that, but we're gonna go ahead and give it a try and see what happens. Alright guys, so I didn't bother setting up the camera because you can't see me welding because of the flash anyways, but I did go ahead and get the blow-off valve flange welded onto our charge pipe, 3.5-inch charge pipe, and the Black Sheep Industries blow-off valve flange. The weld isn't absolutely gorgeous, but I think it's going to do the job. I am getting a little better as we go. I used the Prime Weld TIG 225 to do this. I did a review on that not long ago, so if you guys want to check it out, you can. But I think this thing's going to be airtight enough for what we need to do. I think it's going to do decent. So the next thing that I need to do is I'm going to take a hole saw and go ahead and drill out the center here, and then I'm going to use a reamer and clean it up a little bit. I see a lot of people that cut this out first, but I wanted to try it this way, so we're going to go ahead and give it a shot. So let's see what happens. That should do the trick. Got our little piece here that we just cut out of the center. Alright guys, so now you can see in there, we've got the hole started. That's honestly probably fine. I could probably leave that, but I think I'm just going to use the reamer on my die grinder and just clean it up a little bit more than that. Alright guys, so that's what it looks like now that I reamed it out. I think we are pretty much good to go, so let's test fit this thing on the car. Obviously I'm going to clean it up a bit, but then we'll test fit it. Alright guys, so you can see we got the pipe on here. I think it looks much better already. We are going to use some nice T-bolt clamps for this boot right here. I might end up welding those together in the future, but for now it's easier to put together with a boot right there. The blow-off valve fits in here perfect. I really like this valve. Nice flange, easy to get on and off if I ever have to. This stuff will all be out of the way once we finish the wiring for the ABS delete, so that'll be nice. But all in all, I think it looks much better with this pipe than the other one that we were using, and I think with this blow-off valve, it's a 50mm blow-off valve versus this little ProFlow guy from ProCharger. So running the 17-18 pounds of boost like we are, I think that's going to be a much better option. What's up guys? So it's another day out here in the garage. We are back to working on the GTO this morning. Not sure exactly where I left off, but you can see we've got the blow-off valve pipe pretty much done. It's pretty much ready to go in. No professional welder by any means, but I'm pretty happy with how it came out. Definitely a major upgrade compared to what we used to have. We were running this thing and a bunch of couplers and everything else, and then we were using the ProCharger ProFlow bypass valve, which is basically a boost leak in and of itself. Also a lot smaller diameter compared to the blow-off valve that we are going to be using now. I'll give you a quick comparison here. You can see how much bigger it actually is. So with this D1SC spinning way beyond its max RPM, having a bigger blow-off valve is going to make it a lot easier on the blower when we lift our foot off the gas. So that's that. We are working on making the pipe that comes down off of the blower in here. You guys probably can't see it. It's a very tight fit, but it's basically like a little S pipe, and it's made out of mild steel right now. It's what came with the ProCharger kit. We bought all of our piping after the fact, but I'm pretty sure it's all the stuff that would have came with a kit. So that, and then this here, I don't like that either. That's I think that's 2.5. That one, the S bend over there, is also 2.5. So we're trying to step everything up to 3 and try to get some of the weight of the mild steel piping off the nose of this car. I was playing around with the welder the other day a little bit, and I started making some pie cuts and whatnot. They're not gorgeous by any stretch of the imagination, but I think they're gonna hold some air. I think it's gonna work for us. Again, not beautiful, but I think it's gonna get the job done. So we're gonna go ahead and do that today. We're also, first thing that we're gonna do is I'm gonna take some of this protection wrap that I have here, and we're gonna wrap the front of the car, because when you're leaning up against it, like the button on your jeans or your belt, whatever, you end up scratching the fender. And that's the whole reason that we ended up stripping the other car and putting this one together, is because it's just so much cleaner. So we want to try to keep it that way. So we're going to use this protection film. Alright guys, so now that we're all wrapped up here, I'm going to go ahead and show you that pipe down there that we're going to start working on. We've got over here made up like I had mentioned, and we need to make the U-bend, and then I think I'm going to build the 90 into it possibly and make all that aluminum. Not sure yet. We might leave the rubber boot there and then just make from here to the intercooler so we can get rid of this ugly thing, so I can use pie cuts, jog it down, and then straight into the intercooler right here. But since we're waiting on tubing to come for that, I have some stuff that we can use to start building the piece here. The tubing that you guys see here, all the black stuff, I had bought from someone on Facebook Marketplace. When I bought my blower, it didn't come with any piping or anything like that, and this guy had a GTO that had changed to turbo or something, and he had the pipe laying around, so he hooked me up with it. But you can see there's lots of like patches and like just horrible welds. Nothing against him, I'm not a professional welder either, but they're pretty bad. I'll show you some of them when we get inside. But this little S-bend over here is definitely no exception. This one's super ugly too. I don't know if you guys can see up in there. It's that one right there in front. That goes directly to the blower. It looks like it's only like maybe 2.5-inch pipe. So we definitely want to change that. So I'm going to go ahead and get that one out. I'll let you guys take a closer look at it, and I will show you what we're going to use to try to build that. Jigged up in the bandsaw over here, we've got some 3-inch aluminum pipe, and all we had to do here is measure and find halfway up our pipe, make a line, make a on both sides, make a straight line across. Do the same on this side of the pipe here. Then we went ahead and found halfway, let's see if I can show you guys this. Halfway up on our bandsaw right here, made a mark there. It's a reference line so that each time we make a cut, we're gonna cut one on this side with this line lined up, then we're gonna twist the pipe and use this line and line that one up. And then we used this little angle gauge that I have, this thing, and we used that up against the saw blade to make a 9-degree angle from the blade to where the pipe's gonna be held, because each 9-degree, you add it for one piece, so 9 and 9 is going to be 18. 5 of those make 90, so 5 pieces cut this way should make a 90-degree bend, so we should need about 10 of them. I've got some made, but we also used the little piece of metal here as a stock stop, so we're going to go ahead and start cutting these things up, try to make some nice pie cuts, and see what we come up with.
See if they lined up. Just for S&Gs.
I tell you guys all the time, I'm not a professional welder, but this is pretty bad. And I've tried welding the ProCharger intercooler piping before, and it is hard to get it to like not leak, so I can understand it, but this has got to go. So I made some pie cuts out of aluminum the last few days, just playing around. Again, no professional by any means, but I think they're gonna work. It's definitely better than what we've got here. And use this one, something like that, because that's the wider turn. And then take that one, something like that. They will, it'll do what we need it to do. So I'm gonna go ahead and use a piece of tape just to hold these two together where we need them, and then we'll go under there and see if we can't make stuff line up and fit how we need it to. Sorry again about the heater noise, guys. So let's see if we're even close here. Yeah, we're actually really close. Okay, cool. So yeah, next step is gonna be, we need to get a 3-inch boot on the blower up there so that we can actually slide part of this in and see exactly where it's gonna land. Because right now I'm just holding it on the end of that 2.5-inch boot. So that's gonna bring it in a little closer when we do that. So it'll be in a little bit. And then we can twist it whichever way we need to. And then we'll have to get a 3-inch boot to put here. Alright guys, so we've got that new boot down in here. And that's the 3-inch to 3-inch because it did have a 3-inch off the blower to 2.5-inch because of that ugly S-bend. But we've got a new 3 to 3 in there. And the problem we have now is, see how long it sticks out right there? It doesn't give me enough room to run our new 90, the S curve that we're making out of aluminum. It doesn't give us enough room between there and the radiator. So I think what I'm gonna do is go ahead, pop that back off, and then I think we're gonna go ahead and take a couple inches off it. Probably use the bandsaw again, works out pretty good. We'll just use it like a little table bandsaw here and go ahead and do that real quick. Definitely could do it with a razor blade, but with the reinforcement stuff that's in those silicone boots, the razor blade sometimes hits it and starts to cut off to the side. So I'm gonna go ahead and try using the bandsaw. Never tried it before, might give us a straighter cut. So let's go ahead and pop that off. We'll get that cut up, and then we should be able to put it back on and start test fitting those pie cuts that we made and see if we can't get something tacked into place and keep moving with it. Well, that came out pretty good. Pretty happy with that. I actually sped up the speed on the bandsaw quick. But no, I made a pretty clean cut, pretty straight with my line that I used there. So that's pretty good. Probably clean that edge up just a tiny bit, but I think it's pretty much set to test fit. Okay guys, not sure if you can even see it anymore, but the boot's right here. So we were way out here, cutting it back helped a lot. I was gonna raise it up a little bit towards the blower by cutting the other end, but I don't think that we're actually gonna have to do that. I think it actually lands in a pretty good spot. So now we're gonna take the 2 sections here that we made to make our S and see where they fit in the best. Might take me a little bit of playing around with it here to see what I wanna do, but we'll get it figured out and go from there. Now I do have that boot all the way up onto the ProCharger itself so that we do have a good spot. It's where it's gonna be, so nothing's gonna change on us when we tighten that clamp down. Let's go ahead and grab some tape and we will tape it together right where it is. Then bring it over and weld it. Alright guys, so we got it tacked together, there and there. Kind of created a little bit of a gap when I did the first tack. I think I did it a little bit too hot, but that's alright. So, alright, let's take it back over to the car and see how it fits. Alright guys, so I like that. I'm happy with it. So we'll leave that tacked. I think I'm gonna leave that tacked and keep building what we want here, and I'll just keep tacking everything, and then I'll sit down and finish weld it all. But I'm kind of thinking, this is just a scrap piece that we cut off the end. I'm kind of thinking maybe step it up a little bit more here. Like maybe, oh, I don't know, 1 or 2 more of these up. And then maybe level out and start making the 90-degree bend towards the front. I'm still not 110% sure that I'm gonna make this full next 90 here out of aluminum, or if I'm just gonna make this come up a little bit more and then get a rubber boot that can go right on it, something like that, to make the 90 to the front. Haven't decided 100% yet. Alright guys, so we got some more of this tacked up here. I got that 90 put in right here. It's hard to see with the camera, but you can see where those pie cut pieces are and how it goes up to the blower right there. So we came down and around. I was trying to keep it so that I can get to that bolt, because with the pipe that it had from ProCharger, it was rubbing right up against that right here. So I was trying to get away from that a little bit. The only thing I'm not real happy with is how close this is going to be to the ground. So I measured, let's see if I can show you this here. I measured from here to the bottom of that pipe. It's going to be up kind of like that. So like 10 and a quarter, but then you got to take 4.5 inches off for the blocks that the car is up on. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, then roughly a half-ish. So it's going to be about where the tape measure is, which is pretty low to the ground. It's only like 5.5, 5.75 off the ground, but we're going to go with it. We're going to try it. Worst case scenario, I can always cut this 90 back a little bit if this keeps hitting the ground. I can cut this back a little bit and make this a little bit tighter and just remake that section later down the road, but I'm hoping that we're going to be just fine. It's not like this thing's going to be off-roading or nothing like that. So we're going to go ahead and take this back off. I'm going to finish weld a couple things, and this piece should be about done. Alright guys, so we are back out here in the garage working on the intercooler piping for the GTO again. It's been a few days since we worked on it, so I'm not 100% sure where we left off, but we will figure it out and pick up right from there. As you can see, I'm covered in sawdust. We went ahead and made some lift blocks for the GTO. You can see we've got the front up on them right there, and we made a few for the rear as well. Haven't had a chance to put the rear ones on yet, but they seem to be working out really well. We just used some cheap 2x4s from Home Depot and cut them down to a bunch of 16-inch pieces and then just crisscross them basically all the way up. Definitely gets the car off the ground a little bit more and will help for working under the car in the garage. We've got our quick lift for outside, but for in the garage, it's a lot easier to just jack it way up and put it on these blocks. So I think we left off, we had just got done with the driver's side charge pipe going from the blower headed out around the front bumper. We got that one sitting right here, got that one all welded up, pie cut and all, and then polished that one up. It's looking pretty decent. I'm hoping I can do even a little better on the next one, but for my first time trying intercooler piping, super happy with how that came out. So we've got from the blower down around this bend and then everything up to hook up to the intercooler. All of that is done. So now we can go ahead and move over to this side. We've got the elbow we're going to use here that comes out of the throttle body into our 3.5-inch pipe here. The blow-off valve is going to go right down here where we welded that flange on. So now we need to go ahead and start making from where the blow-off valve tube right here is, that 3.5-inch pipe. We've got to make from there. We're probably going to do like a U and then out and around right here and then try to get into this intercooler. It had like a weird stepped boot on it originally. We're going to try to get rid of that. And we also went ahead and upped the size quite a bit. In a bunch of spots of this system from ProCharger, it tapered all the way down to about 2.5 So we wanted to try to step it up. We're keeping it all 3.5 over here until we get down to that U-bend. We're gonna step it down to 3-inch, and then everything we made over on this side here is also 3-inch now. We did order a whole bunch of parts. You can see we've got all kinds of straight tubing here, so if we need to make any more pie cuts or use straight tubing, that's all 3-inch. We've got a couple 45s in here. I believe we have one 3.5 and one 3. Then we've got our 3-inch U-bend right here and a 3-inch 90, so that hopefully I won't have to make as many pie cuts. And then just a bunch of silicone couplers. So we're gonna go ahead and start doing some mock-ups, see what all we're gonna need to do, what we're gonna need to cut, and we will start getting this thing banged out. Alright guys, sorry about the heater and TV noise. I didn't want to get up. So if you can see right there, we've got the boot coming down off of the pipe for that blow-up valve. We can't come straight down because of this radiator hose right here, so we have to put a 90 on it, shoot it over this way, and then once it's shot over that way, we're gonna go ahead and take this U-bend right here and shoot it back towards the outer tire here. So I think what I'm gonna do is just mark this U-bend, probably something like here, and cut some of this off so that we can shift it all this way a little bit more. And then once we get it where we want it, we can go ahead and either use this 90 to start making the turn this way, or put the rubber 90 there and then put this 90 here, and then start working our way right to the intercooler. So let's see what we need to cut off this and start getting this thing mocked up. When we were making the pipe over here that I showed you guys last, the one that comes down and it does the like U shape right here, it was hanging down like 4+ inches too low. Like it was well lower than the one that we've got over there. So we had to try to figure something out with that. I didn't want to do a whole bunch of pie cuts and try to make it a tighter bend, just because I'm not that experienced yet. I'm still learning as we go, and I don't think that I'd be able to make it tighter than their bend by using pie cuts. So I decided to go ahead and try something else just on a whim. I didn't know if it would work or not. I'm hoping that it still does work out, but I'm gonna show you what we're working with here. You can see the bandsaw. We've used this thing quite a bit. Well, I never had a table for it to be able to use it standing up, so I just went ahead and made myself a table out of some scrap metal we had laying around. Not a huge table, but it definitely works for doing like specialty cuts that you can't quite jig up down here. And the reason we made that was because, as you can see right here, this pipe is the U pipe that we needed. We cut the leg shorter like we wanted, but it was still about 6 inches between this leg and this leg, and that would cause it to hang extremely low in the front of the car. So what we did was we went ahead and put this on the bandsaw and just tried to eyeball some cuts here. Get this tape out of here. So we were able to eyeball some cuts, and by doing so, we were able to take a good amount of distance out of this thing. Now, is that bend ideal for airflow? Because it's a little bit pointed right there. Probably not. I mean, I can't imagine that that'd be great for airflow, but sometimes you just kind of got to do what you got to do, and it still makes the 180 that we needed. Our legs are still facing the same direction, and it's kind of going to do what we need. Now, like I said, it is going to have like a peak here. It's not the best for airflow. It's going to kind of hit that and have to come the other way, but luckily it's going to be under pressure. I wouldn't want to do something like this on an air intake system on an NA car, so it's just what we're working with. But by doing so, we shaved down pretty much 3 inches out of how low this thing's going to hang, so that's what we're going to go with. Alright guys, so this is the view from the front of the car. The bumper is right about here when the bumper's on the car. And you can see now that we have that 180-degree pipe that we made up in here, and it is tucked in there very nicely. It's going to be a lot higher off the ground. Before we cut it up and do what we had to do, it was about 3 inches lower than where it is now, so it'd be right about where my finger is, which you can see for obvious reasons it was just not going to work. It would have been scraping on the ground and we would have had all kinds of issues with it. So that's why we did what we did. Now the next step is we've got to figure out how we want to plumb it from here into the intercooler. From ProCharger, they have it come out and around over there, and then it had a like weird rubber coupler that would jog down and then into the intercooler. But I think what we're gonna do is we've still got to come way out and around over here, which I'm not a huge fan of, but we don't really have any other options. We can't go down here, and I'm not gonna go through this obviously. So we're gonna shoot down over to here and then around this bend, and then I'll use some nice aluminum 3-inch piping like we've used everywhere else, and if I have to, I'll put a couple pie cuts in it to jog it down and then get a straight shot at the intercooler. So I'm gonna start getting this stuff mocked up, and I will show you guys what we come up with. Alright guys, so we are back out here at it again today. You guys have seen the little montage of last night when I was fitting some more pipe and couplers together there. We ended up getting that all finished up, and I'm going to show you guys what it looks like now. But it is absolutely gorgeous out here today. We've got both doors open. It's sunny out. It's one of the nicest days we've had in a very long time, so I'm super happy about that. Definitely makes you want to get out and do something. So like I said, we've got the doors open here. You might have a little bit of wind noise, but it shouldn't be too bad. So let's go ahead and get down here and take a look at what we've got so far. So as you guys seen, we made that 180 pipe, and then I went ahead and put an extension on it. We added some more 3-inch pipe to that, and then we're coming into a silicone coupler here, which you guys seen me cut in the montage. So we've got that cut back a little bit, and then we went ahead and cut this 90 back a little bit so that we could go ahead and try to tighten this bend up. I was gonna do all aluminum right here, use another 90 or do a bunch of pie cuts and make this bend and just weld it all. But then I was thinking about it to try to get this pipe in here with the 180 that's already on it way up in here, and then also have to deal with this and getting it to the intercooler might be harder than it's worth. So we could use some V-bands or something like that, but I decided to just go ahead and use the silicone couplers. Now we've got to go ahead and find out what size pipe we need to put in between here. We've still got a bunch of the aluminum tubing left over, so we can go ahead and measure that here in a minute, and we will cut a piece, go ahead, test fit it, we can tack it up, and then once we get everything tacked up, I'm probably gonna set the couplers all on it, get everything tight, and then grab the bumper and set that on the front, and just make sure that we don't have any clearance issues and that everything is gonna fit how it should. So once we get all that done, we can pop the bumper back off, take all the piping out that is tack welded, go over to the bench, finish weld everything, and then some of the pieces that we're gonna see, I might polish up quick on the bench polisher, but I'm not 100% sure yet. Probably just do it to the ones that we're gonna see. So let's go ahead and get this cut. We'll finish mount it and go from there. Alright guys, so now that we test fit the bumper and everything, I think we're going to go ahead and finish weld all this. You can see we've got it tacked still from before, And all we really need to finish weld is this pipe here and this extension right here. The 180 is already finish welded. So we're gonna go ahead and set the welder up again. We'll bang those two things out, and then we should be on to final assembly of the intercooler pipe. Alright guys, so we got these pipes finished up here. I'm super happy with how they came out. We did go ahead and pressure check them and we have no leaks, so I'm super happy about that. Not the most beautiful welds I've ever seen, but some of them came out pretty good. As long as there's no leaks, I don't really care because you're never going to see this stuff. But as always, I was trying to do the best of my ability. And towards the end here with these last pipes out of the whole kit that we've made here, I've definitely been getting better and better and learning some tricks and what does and doesn't work for me. But now that we got those done, they need to have beads put on the end. We're going to go ahead and bead roll the ends everywhere that there's going to be a rubber coupler. And before we do that, I think we're going to go ahead and polish them up. And then to put a bead on these pipes, we're going to be using a pair of pliers that I made. Again, not sure if I showed this at the beginning of the video or if I'm going to cut it out and just show you guys here. But these are some DOYLE wire crimpers from Harbor Freight, and we just went ahead and cut the tips off. It was like a cutter, so you could cut the wire. And we're just going to be using this crimping section, and I'll show you guys how we do it. But you basically just slide it over the pipe like so, however far in you want it, and then as you squeeze, this little nub will raise a section, and you can work your way right around the pipe and make a nice little bead. So we're gonna go ahead and start with polishing, then we'll start doing the beads, and once we're done with that, I think we are just about ready for final fitment. Alright guys, so we got these things polished up. I'm pretty happy with them. I think they came out pretty good. We didn't go crazy with like a full 3 or 4 stage polish just because these ones are all going to be under the car. You only see like this very end of this one through the front bumper, so not too worried about that. Just wanted to make them look somewhat decent. But now I think we're going to go ahead and roll some beads on these things, and then I think we'll call it a night and come down in the morning and do some final assembly, and then I think the front bumper will be pretty close to be going on. So let's go ahead and do these 4 beads and call it a night. Alright guys, so we're just going to go ahead and go right around this pipe with these crimpers that I showed you that we made. So it's pretty simple. I'm just going to show you a little section here, and then I'm just going to go ahead and get them done off camera because it's very repetitive. So you're just going to take it with the little nub down going inside the pipe here, and then you're just going to want to put it where that you can make it consistent all the way around, and then you just kind of want to give it a good little squeeze here. You don't want to go too crazy on your first one because you can actually crack the aluminum if you're not careful. So what I usually do is I'll get it going kind of like so. And then you can come back if you want in between and give it a little bit more of a squeeze. And it gives you a nice little bead to grab onto so that it gives the clamp something physical to grab so that it can't slide off. So we're just going to go ahead and go around this whole thing, and we're going to do it just like that, and it'll give us a nice little bead. So we're going to go ahead and finish those up, and I'll show you guys what we come up with. Alright guys, so as you've seen, we got these polished up last night, and then I went ahead and took them up and I did the bead. You can see how nice that comes out with that little set of pliers that I made. It's a pretty decent and consistent bead all the way around, and like I said, we did it with a $14 pair of pliers that we modified ourselves instead of buying a $200 bead roller. So super happy with that. I think all in all they look pretty good. So of course now the only thing left is to fit them on the car and make sure everything is still good to go. So let's hop over to the car and throw these things on. Alright guys, so we have made some progress today. We got all the piping on up here. You can see we don't have the blow-off valve on yet, but all the piping is in place. We got everything on down in here, routed how I'd like it. I did go ahead and beat some of this in. Not sure if you can see it in there, some of this metal on this edge. I beat it in so that I could tuck that pipe in nice and tight. That's all where we want it. Still waiting on this aluminum 90 right here, so we don't have that yet, sadly, but all in all, it's starting to look pretty good. So now it is finally time for what I've been looking forward to. For some reason, I've been really looking forward to getting the blow-off valve on this thing. So we've got it out and on the bench over here. I've showed it to you guys before. It is a Black Sheep Industries blow-off valve. And the reason I went with this one was originally we were going to try to control boost using a Mac valve or something like that. So this blow-off valve has a port for centrifugal supercharger guys that don't have a wastegate, so that you can use this like a wastegate. We are going to be putting that port on, but we're not going to be using it right now. And then it's also got 2 ports for your vacuum line. We're going to cap this one, and we are going to run this one. So let's get on over to the car and set this thing on and take a look and see what it looks like. Alright guys, so we got that blow-off valve on. Super happy with how that came out. We've still got to run a vacuum line to it, but it looks really good with the black valve covers and black fuel rails and all the other little polished bits. So just to recap here, we've got our pipe that comes into the ProCharger. And then out of the ProCharger on the boost side, we have the first pipe that we made with all the pie cuts. Comes out and around into this 3-inch pipe, which will be a 3-inch aluminum 90, but we're still waiting on it to show up, so I just put a 3-inch mild steel one in there. Into the intercooler, out into that 90 that we had to add on to on this side of the intercooler. And then up into that 180-degree bend right there that comes up and steps up to 3.5 at the pipe for the blow-off valve, and then continues 3.5 all the way to the throttle body. All in all, super happy with how this kit turned out. It was my first time ever doing it, so I got to learn how to TIG weld aluminum and a bunch of other cool skills like pie cuts and things like that. So I appreciate you guys for checking out the video and sticking with me to the end. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that bell. That way you get notified anytime we put out a video with the GTO, the Duramax, or the Hellcat, and we will catch you on the next one.